So mine is okay.
Yeah, it is. It is okay. Hi,
Got it.
Anand. Hi, Anand. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me here. Hi, Efrain. I'm doing good. Thanks.
Hi, Anand. Thanks for joining us today. So before we jump into it, I thought it would be good for our audience to get to know you a little bit. So and also to get to know a little bit about Infollect as well. So can you give us a quick intro into your background, your experience, and tell us a little bit about Infollect as well?
God, sure, great. Yeah, so I come from a small town in South India, right? Humble background. My father is a professor, mother is an engineer. So in a family where education was something that we had to be very proud of. And right from my younger self, I used to be fond of problem solving and technology. And that led to me to become a computer science engineer. I did my bachelor's in India. And after that, I started exploring what could be the next step, and that was towards making my journey towards computer science as a researcher in computer science. And that's why I was able to get a position in Stony Brook University in New York, and I pursued my doctorate degree there.
Wow. One
Uh,
question. How
yeah.
was it for somebody from small town South India to move to the capital of the world?
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Um, um, First time in the US, and with completely different set of environment. It was completely a learning experience, I would say, both personally as well as professionally, right? And I was pursuing my PhD there. A lot of fantastic crowd in the school, and beautiful place as well. Stony Brook is a beach town, and it's a beautiful place in New York, close to Manhattan. So it was a fun place to be there as well. So I did my PhD and completed it in 5 years, which is probably a record time. After that, I started working in a research lab called Bell Labs in New Jersey. Did my first job there, worked there for about 4 years. Interestingly, I started my entrepreneurial journey as well there, because it was a startup inside the labs that I worked on, and that gave me a lot of interest in pursuing entrepreneurship. So after about 9 to 10 years in the US, I anyway wanted to get back to my home country, and of course settle here. So that was one of my reason to come back to India. And then after I came back to India, it was pretty much a very, I would say, a natural decision for me to pursue entrepreneurship. And that is when around 2015 timeframe, I started Infollect. So just before starting Infollect, I was part of IBM research in India. That was my transition from the US to India. And a blessing in disguise was I found my co-founder in IBM research. And both of us had very strong experience in technology, machine learning, AI, and other aspects. So that way, the simple thought was, we as technologists have a lot of experience and strength in solving problems. Why don't we solve some large problem and create a big impact? And that is when Infollect started. And Infollect primarily is about using intelligence, right? I mean, and the whole word of Infollect, I would just do, if you want to look at how we came up with the word, it is infinite intellect. So basically, we came up with something. The concept was to bring in intelligence and then create efficiencies in processes. And retail was one of the very strong domain we had background in, and we saw a lot of big problems to be solved. And that is how we started Infollect, and so far has been having a interesting ride.
Daniel, little known fact, Anand is now the second guest we've had on the FMCG guys whose company name is a combination. I don't know if I'll make you guess the other one, but it was Alchemix.
Yes.
And Arnaud as well, which is alchemy and mathematics. So it's interesting. And Anand, just one quick comment. I think like you said, from a technology research standpoint, I don't think that there's two more powerful names than the two that you mentioned, which is IBM and Bell Lab. I think both of those carry a lot of weight for a lot of people when it comes to innovation, for sure.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. And of course, I mean, as technology and as a researcher, it was a fantastic experience. And I mean, my pretty much my entire growth happened in these two places, right? And there was a solid foundation that I could get there, and that helped me to start Infollect.
And what brought you to start Infollect in a space like retail, which you hadn't like explicitly worked on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did have some background in retail, but especially from a problem-solving perspective, one key thing that we wanted to explore was certain large problems that have big impacts, right? And AI and computer vision and machine learning were our strengths, and we looked at problems that where our strengths can create very big impact, and that is how we started exploring. And when we started exploring and start talking to customers, right, we really found there are core problems that every retail brand faces. And at that point, we felt that, okay, this is where we can apply our strength and then create an impact in the world. And doing so, we started interacting with few strong people in the retail domain, and then we brought them as advisors to reassure ourselves that we are solving a very key problem, right? And then also understand that how our strengths can be used to solve these problems.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, I mean, the events that we've had in the last 2 years with an unprecedented global pandemic have obviously impacted retail. What's changed in retail post-pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, pandemic where it was a very unfortunate situation that all of us had to endure, and hoping it's an end of the pandemic now. But yeah, let's all hope that, right? But yeah, definitely there are a lot of challenges that this whole pandemic situation has created in the retail industry. I mean, I would say maybe three to four specific things. Probably the first thing is on the inflationary pricing, right? When right now you see inflation happening pretty much everywhere around the world, and margins are becoming more and more stringent. So how can retail brands and manufacturers overcome this? Right. The second is again on supply chain shortage. It's not just the post-pandemic thing, but I mean we see a lot of geopolitical things also happening. There is a lot of supply chain shortage. So out of stock in a store is a huge problem, right? When I as a consumer go to the store, I mean, am I getting the right products in the right time? So that is a huge problem. Third, I would say is on labor shortages, right? I mean, attrition, labor has becoming a bit more and more, especially in the developed world. And how can retail brands make sure that they have the right field force to go and distribute the right products in the store, right? And finally, I mean, this is again a trend, but again, it would also see how it plays out. This is less and less footfall in the stores, right? I mean, people wanted to start thinking or buying products through online channels as well. So all these are definitely key challenges, I would say, that the pandemic has brought in, specifically for retails and specifically in store retail. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I can speak from personal experience that for a lot of folks in the brand manufacturing side, those are very top of mind topics, particularly now
Exactly.
in this
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
6 months, especially here in the EMEA region. Building on the last factor you mentioned there around footfall, I'm curious to hear your perspective on what are the levers that you see based on your work with retailers and manufacturers around what contributes to a successful sale at a
Yeah.
store, whether that be physical or a digital
Yeah.
transaction.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, in-store or physical stores definitely, need to buck up, right? Because definitely in terms of the experience that they bring in, shopping for people is not just about products; it's also about experience, right? And that is probably the most important differentiation that a physical store or an environment where people can go and experience things can have, compared to a digital world. So, I mean, but how do you make sure that among all these challenges that we mentioned, we just talked about, how can stores or brands make sure that they are able to improve upon their profitability, improve upon their revenues, right? I think very clearly retail manufacturers as well as retailers have to focus on one, I would say, sales or commercial excellence, right? When how can I get the best bang for a buck? Like for every dollar that you spend, how do you make sure that you're able to bring in efficiencies and then improve your sales in the store? Very simply, I mean, how can I make my field force a lot more productive, right? How can I make sure that they are able to do their job a lot more easily so that I can do this at a larger scale, right? Very simply that. Second is, I mean, a lot of brands now are doing a lot of promotions, personalizations in store, right? I mean, how do I manage these promotions better? I mean, trade promotion management, as we all know, is a huge topic, and especially in these challenging times, how do I make sure that these are done well? Right. And third, I would put it at doing or making products available at the right store, at the right time, right, at the right price, right. And this is primarily around how do I execute my products, how do I execute my promotions in the stores, so that overall the consumer experience or the shopper experience is excellent, right. And I can still attract people, right, by giving the right price, by giving the right experience, right, and making sure the right products are available in the store.
And when it comes into like the actual store, so when you have like product available in the store, Salesforce has checked it, everything seems to be in place. I know that there's other factors that happen within the store. What are the key winning factors in there? I don't know if there's any more that is like very store specific, like how to win at the point of sale.
And again, having the right products at the right aisles. I mean, at the right place, right? Making it so simple for people to discover products in the store. How do I make sure that the shopper can navigate in the store so easily, so that they can reach to the right product and then easily grab the right brand, right? So that is one. And also, how can I give more information about the products? Again, a lot of companies are working on providing a better information or educating the consumers or the shoppers on a product, right? So overall, I think it is around making it so simple and as well as fun and enjoyable for people to experience the shopping, right, in stores. And of course, having the right products at the right time is all good. I mean, that is a basic that you have to do. Even that, a lot of brands are struggling with. But on top of that, how do you make sure that the overall experience or the journey, right, from the point that the shopper enters the store to the point they check out and go out the store, it's so simple and fun for them, right? I mean, it's an experience that they have to create, both the retailers as well as the brands.
So, like you said, it sounds fairly intuitive. It sounds fairly simple. The right products in the right place at the right time for the right consumers. But we know that executing that on a consistent basis comes with a lot of challenges. Can you speak to how FMCG brands are addressing some of those challenges in store, and how are they in essence improving overall effectiveness around things like trade promotion, their sales force effectiveness, and some of the other things you mentioned as well?
Yeah, see, I think definitely a lot of brands are trying to improve, but majority of the brands or the retailers, I would say, are still not, I would say, fully transforming their processes through digital means. I think technology is a big solution to all this problem. I mean, being a technologist and a problem solver, I would clearly see that adopting a lot of updated or advanced tools and technology definitely can bring in efficiencies in several of these. I'll give you a few simple examples, right? And think about a trade promotion management. Very simply, how do I know the right product gets the right price and the right promotion is executed in the store? Right? I mean, you wouldn't believe that most brands still, I'm sure Efrain knows this, a lot of brands still use Excel to manage their trade promotions, right? I mean, this is, even in the developed market. Right, and if you look at a simple planogram checks, I mean, I still see big brands printing planograms on paper, and the reps take those papers and then they check the whether the planograms are right. right? Even for retail execution or putting the right products in the right shelf, right? The reps have to rely on manual methods. And again, on top of this, the sales data is in one silo, the execution data is in one silo, the supply chain data is in one silo, right? So how do we integrate all this data, right? So I very clearly see that adopting the right tools and technology can actually help retail brands as well as retailers overcome all these challenges. And of course, and I think the key is bringing efficiencies in every single process, because like I told you in the beginning, right? I mean, making every dollar count and extracting the juice out of every dollar is important. And how do you do that? I mean, and there are opportunities in front of brands, especially through technology. And definitely there are certain brands who are already doing that, and definitely the world is moving towards that. That is my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And for example, talking about technologies, a lot of people are talking about AI nowadays as a bit of like the invisible hand that puts everything together in some way. No, how do you think that AI is playing in, you know, complementing retail operations, but also like the actual business side?
Right. I mean, of course, AI is a buzzword. Of course, it's a pretty overloaded word, right? All of us know that. I have a very, very simple opinion about AI. AI is when we make computers do intelligent activities like humans, right? And by intelligent, I would break it into very simple thing. Computers reason something? Or computers, can they learn from the past and then do things, right, without new training, right? Or they can generalize a few things, right? So these are very simple things that I think a simple definition of AI is, right? And I mean, very simply, we are trying to make automations or a computer to do things that a human can do, right? What can a human can do? A human can see, right? A human can speak, a human can read or write, a human can process some data, right? Very simply, these are some of the intellectual activities that we do. And that is where AI comes in, right? To see, the equivalent of seeing is computer vision, image recognition, video analytics, and all these aspects. The equivalent of speaking or hearing ability is basically speech processing, speech synthesis. The equivalent of reading and writing is natural language processing, right? So these are key technologies that are mimicking human intelligence. And the key differentiation, I think, between human intelligence versus artificial intelligence is the speed, the efficiency, and the tireless nature of a computer, right? When we can see few things, but after a couple of hours, we become tired, right? I mean, I can speak for maybe 1 hour here, but after that, I become tired, probably, right? But once we train computers to do all these things naturally and with very high accuracy and efficiency, then we can automate a lot of things, right? And that is what I feel retail industry can adopt, right? So very simply, a store is a physical environment, and a lot of the brand's field force or the store's person go and have to do certain things by seeing, right? Like an audit or making sure the right product is placed in the right place, right? If we can make a computer see, right, either through a camera, it could be a video camera that could take photos or videos of the store, or it could be a simple a person taking pictures of the retail environment, right? Then we can start adopting computer vision or image recognition or video analytics technology to bring in efficiencies to that process. Similarly, right? Think about your manufacturing line where products are there, right? I mean, I can set up a video camera which can continuously monitor and then automatically detect defective products, right? The cost of selling a defective product to a later part of the pipeline is so expensive that you want to make sure that you cut down all those things in the beginning itself. So there are a lot of use cases where if you make a computer or an AI to see, right, and automate that through technology, then a lot of these physical processes can be completely automated, and a lot of efficiency can be brought in. And that is where there is huge amount of cost saving, as well as understanding new opportunities where we can grow, right? So that is about computer vision or image recognition, which is something that we specialize in. right? But apart from that, like I told you, natural language processing, understanding consumer sentiments through parsing several millions of blogs and social media posts is an interesting use case that now retail brands are trying to adopt, where they try to understand what is the consumer sentiment on my product, right? I have a new launch. I mean, what are people talking about it, right? I mean, I can just pass through maybe billions of Twitter pages, Instagram pages, and other things and understand what people are talking about, right? Without doing a big market survey, which people used to do before, which is again expensive, right? Similarly, a lot of advancements are happening in speech processing. So you now have an agent, right? A completely an artificial agent who can sit behind and then talk to your consumers or shoppers and then give them customer support and other activities, right? So these are becoming so natural. So overall, I feel AI, like the buzzword AI, which can do all these things, can bring in so much of efficiencies and definitely cost reduction and help them in profitability.
And you're speaking the language of engineers, which is music to my ears.
Okay.
My old engineering days, so I love that. So you started to allude to how the stores are evolving, and obviously how we think about digital evolving in terms of things like D2C platforms and pure players and those kinds of things. But obviously the physical store is evolving as well. I'm curious to understand, based on your experience in working with retailers, how do you see that evolution playing out? And what do you think that in response to that or in anticipation of that, FMCG leaders should be doing differently with regards to how they execute in those stores?
Right, right. When we talk about retailers, at the end of the day, they definitely want to sell the throughput, right? The sell-through rate has to be more, right? That is how they make money, right? I mean, in a given category, I want to make sure I put products that sell fast, right? I mean, it could be brand A's product or brand B's product. Of course, there could be certain market demand for certain brands. We have market share and all those things. But at the end of the day, as a retailer, I want to make sure that the sell-through rate in my store is high. So that is when I can get better profitability, right? So what is happening is, especially in these days, the shelf is becoming extremely competitive, right? I mean, as a retailer, I have limited space. I need to put the right products that can give me the right profitability. So I need to make sure that I put those products, right? And I mean, irrespective of the brands. So I mean, what can brands do, right? I mean, of course, that is where I think the efficiency and the right mix, the right the finding the right SKU assortment mix, especially from a, so this is the situation of the retailer, right? So they want to make sure that their restricted space is used in the best possible way to drive their own benefits on the bottom line, right? And now from a FMCG a manufacturer, right? How can they? I mean, how will they play in the situation, right? When there is limited space. FMCG players, of course, have terms of trade with retailers, and they want to make sure that they get the right visibility and they have the right SKUs available. At the same time, unless FMCG players understand what to put in each store, right, they might not be using the given space efficiently. So, as a brand, how do I make sure I have the right SKU assortment in every single store, right? How do I make sure my on-shelf execution is done in the best possible way? There is so much amount of shopper research happening at brands, so they know exactly, oh, what do I put in the top row or the eye level row or the hip level row or the bottom row, right? So these are a lot of research that brands do, because they have a very restricted space and they have certain amount of space where they need to make sure that they can drive the best possible efficiency, right? And that is what FMCG companies are doing today and have to do in order to make sure that they can also get the right amount of sales or increase their sales in the space that they get in the store, right? The most important thing is, now, of course, all these research and all these things are great, but how do you ensure that it is happening in the store? And that is the big challenge, and that is where I think I think a lot of brands have to improve on it, right? When everyone talks about a perfect store, how do I make sure that I make sure that the execution is perfect, right? But again, understanding that, taking actions around that, and making sure that you get the right visibility, you get the right availability is extremely critical. And that is where I feel FMCG brands have to really make sure that they do the right job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And along these lines, I mean, how are you guys helping brands to do better in store at
Sure.
Infollect?
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is where I think we primarily help. I'll talk about what we do, right? So just to before that, I mean, just to rewind, what are brands doing today? So if you look at most of the brands, I mean, how do they know what is happening in a store, right? I mean, of course, they don't have access to all the stores. There are several thousands or sometimes hundreds of or millions of stores they sell right across the countries, across different markets. How do they know what is actually happening in the store? Uh, Most of the brands today are either using maybe certain third-party firms like a market research firm or an audit firm to send auditors to a small subset of stores and then do audits and then generalize that to all their stores and take decisions based on that small data, right? So that is one. Second, some of the brands are using their existing field force who go to stores to do their sales or merchandising activity and then asking them to do manual audits during their visits and then collect these data and then use it, right? So we have clearly seen and we have evaluated across several top brands that this does not really give them the bang for the buck, right? So it basically, the first of all, it is not scalable. Second, it's not accurate at all. Humans make a lot of mistakes, especially if you want to count, say, 100 products or 200 products in a huge aisle, right? People make mistakes and they're tired. Sometimes they don't even do the audit. They just write some numbers or key in some numbers in their merchandising app and then go, right? So this is what is the current state. And so what we have done is, can we make this process of data collection so simple and make sure technology can bring in the efficiencies here, can bring in the accuracy, can bring in the speed and everything, right? So what we have done, especially at Infollect, is to help retail brands collect and digitize the retail execution data very, very simply. Right. So what we do is, I mean, as you know, most of the brands send their field force to the stores in a regular basis. Some of them send once in a week, or some few times in a week, or some of the key stores they have daily promoters. Right. So these are people who are visiting stores from on a brand's perspective. So we piggyback on these visits. We equip these field force with a simple mobile application. So when they go to the store, the only activity that they have to do now, instead of doing a huge audit, is to just click pictures, right? And this is a very simple activity, and it can be done by pretty much anyone, right? All of us know how to take photos using a mobile application or our iPhones and Android phones, right? So it becomes so simple. So the only thing that they have to do now is to click pictures, and it takes less than 5 minutes to do that, right? And once they do, we have a very sophisticated computer vision or AI algorithms or image recognition algorithms that we have built, which can very accurately understand those images, can identify what are the products in those images, and then give a very accurate retail execution insights, like what is the share of visibility, what are the products or the SKUs that are available in the store? Do I have the right SKU assortment in this store, right? And now, as you can see, right, this is at a store level and a category level. This is a lot better than what you can probably get from a market research firm, which probably gives you directional data on a monthly basis, right? And the most important another aspect is, when these photos are clicked, the AI can process this photo in real time. And this is the most important thing I want to drive here, because previously, what used to happen, they used to note down the data. It goes to the head office, the sales directors or the retail execution heads go through this data probably in a month's time and then take decisions. It's all post-mortem analysis, right? And you cannot change things in the store using post-mortem analysis. But think about having all this data analyzed and actions generated in real time. So the workflow now that we have adopted, and several of our customers have now adopted, is using our mobile application. The merchandiser goes to the store, they click photos, and within 2 minutes, they get exact actions that they have to perform in the store in order to improve the visibility and availability of the products, right? So before they exit the store, they get this, so they can actually perform those. For example, if a planogram is wrong, then they can actually fix the planogram and then come out of the store. If the share of shelf is low, then they can actually add a few more products in the shelf and then get a better share of shelf, right? So we have enabled real-time visibility and availability and actions to be taken by the field force so that the brand actually gets a better execution in store. And overall, I think the overall premise that we are talking about is how can I bring in commercial excellence in the store, right? And with our product, it is now very easily possible, pretty much across all the top brands, that they can use their existing field force. They can even save time of their existing field force now because they don't have to do manual audits, and they can bring in pretty solid efficiency in execution, right? And get out of the store. Right. And we have clearly seen that with brands that have adopted these kind of technology. I'm sure there are a few more companies who are also working in a similar space, but brands who are adopting technology like image recognition and AI for understanding their retail execution have easily seen their sales growth, right? Especially the same store sales, right? Because they don't have to go for new stores. Within my existing stores, I can get better visibility and availability and improve the sales, right? So that is what we've been doing.
It's really it's awesome to hear you talking about real-time action, because I do think that data and insights are only really valuable when they're put into action. And I think the way that you're explaining it in terms of being able to leverage these AI tools that you all have developed to, in essence, put those recommendations at the hand of the merchandisers who are in store right then and there, so that there's no lag between analysis and recommendation, or let's say outcome, if you will. That's a powerful value proposition for sure.
Definitely. I mean, again, these have not been there before. Again, technology, as you know, is something that is changing day by day, right? And for example, image recognition probably in a very nice, well-lit store was probably 70 to 80% accurate 5 years before, right? But now you can get 99% accurate data or even 100% accurate data with image recognition in a modern trade store. Even in general trade stores, right? I want to also drive this point where even with complex stores, like, I mean, especially in the developing market where you have mini marts or even small stores, right, across Latin America, Europe, or I mean, all the regions, right? So this can be applied, and brands can drive efficiencies across channels, right? It doesn't have to be the most well organized modern trade channel, right? So Techmin, I mean, very simply, as a technologist, what I see is the overall AI has tremendously seen transformation in the last 6 to 8 years, right? Right, especially computer vision. So so the technology has improved, the products are there, right? And it's time for brands to adopt them, right? And that is where I mean, companies like us are working towards. And one interesting point is, I mean, even from our own company's perspective, all these problems are already there. I mean, right? It is not a new problem that we are trying to solve, right? It's an existing problem that every brand or a retailer has. It is now being solved by a much efficient solution, right? Or a product, right? And that is where I think as brands are seeing all these things, and as they see competitive brands probably adopting all this new technology, definitely I think there is a pull from brands on exploring these and then adopting them, so that overall they're able to drive in better efficiencies for their own brands.
How do you think actual like sales leaders, you know, they get all these insights and all this information and all this data, which is an issue, can be an issue as well. No, we've talked about it in other episodes. Is too much data a bad thing?
Of course.
Like how can like a sales leader use all these insights that they're getting from you guys to make better commercial decisions?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that is where I think AI is going to help as well. I mean, it is not just digitizing what is there and throwing data to for people to make sense of it, right? But taking the data and then understanding what needs to be done with the data, and then actually generating the right actions to be performed, right? I mean, we don't stop at the point of just giving the data to our customers, right? We actually generate the actions that need to be done, because eventually, unless you perform those actions, nothing is going to change, right? You can have all the data in the world, right? But unless you actually take those actions and then perform it in a physical store, none of these is going to change, right? And that is where I think companies are specializing, and there are a lot of companies who can bring in or digitize the data. But how can you make sure that people can take actions out of it, right? I mean, again, we don't want people to think again too hard on volumes of data, right? I mean, I want to make sure that I give them the next best action, right? Okay, these are the 5 things that the rep has to do before he leaves, and these are the 5 things the regional or the area sales manager has to do, right? And these are the 5 things the sales director has to do, so that his vision is there, right? So right from the field rep to the sales director, or even the VP of sales or the commercial chief commercial officer in a brand, I mean, we can tell exactly what potentially they can do, right? And these are exact actions that they can perform based on the goals that they have, based on the targets that they have, and what is actually happening in the store. Right. I'll just tell you one story about one of the customers that we have worked and how they have adopted and changed in the last 3 years. Right. So we started working with one of a large international packaged food brand who used to rely on market research data, right, on a month-on-month basis to take or understand where is their market share, what are the products selling in different parts of the country, where do I need to put my efforts to improve my sales for a certain brand in a certain region, right? So this is what they've been using. But after they started looking at an opportunity where they can get store level data, right, using a simple technology like image recognition without investing a lot in additional field force or changing or bringing a lot of change management in their regular merchandising activity, right? They started to get fine grained data pretty much on every visit, right? So they started getting 4 data points a month compared to 1 data point in a month or a quarter, right? But now it is at a store level rather than a city or a region level, right? Now that they started getting this data, right, we were able to work with a brand and then ask them, okay, what is your target? Okay, for this brand, okay, I need probably 20% share of shelf. And for this category, I want, say, 85% on-shelf availability for my products, right? So these are certain goals that we started working with the brands, right? And once we start the real data coming from the field, right, and we started comparing against the goals, and then we created a very simple action plan for the brand to start nudging the merchandisers, also start creating better loyalty programs for the retailers, right, and then keep on improving their metrics. And and within 6 months, we could easily see that the brand started seeing better visibility and availability and started getting better profit, right? So overall, I think the story is once you start seeing what is happening in the store, right? There are very simple possibilities to turn on some of the levers, right? Across sales, across merchandising, across distribution, right? And then improve the same store sales tremendously. Right? And we have seen this and we have shown this at multiple large companies across multiple countries.
I think I love it, right? So as we said a couple of times now, insights to action, but close to real time. That again is a super powerful statement to make. Anand, thank you. This has been super insightful, and I know I've benefited from hearing your perspective in regards to how technology and the role of technology in helping to really think about becoming much more efficient and increasing speed when it comes to how we look at retail execution, both from a retailer, but also from a brand perspective. Want to wrap up with one question, and this is the question that we ask all of our guests. And it's really, in essence, thinking about almost like a career retrospective to this point. So if you could go back and give one piece of advice to your younger self based on everything you've learned over your career, what would that be and why?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. When to my younger self, yeah, maybe so the simpler thing would be when I started my entrepreneurial journey in my 30s. I think if I had known what it takes to build a company, what it takes to create value in this whole world. I mean, I would have probably started a bit earlier, maybe in my 20s, right? So that was probably a simple advice I would have given. And I think, I mean, two things probably which were something that prohibited me or delayed this whole entrepreneurial journey probably was maybe fear of failure, right? I mean, something that at my younger age, probably I didn't want to fail. So it took me some time to understand that it's okay to fail. It's okay to take risk and then do things which we love to do, right? And then that can create a bigger impact in the world. Second probably is on building a better visibility for your own self, right? When especially the power of networking, creating a good network, which can help you in your career, in your future, which probably I could have done in a better way. Definitely, these are some things that I would have told my younger self to say that it's okay to fail, it's okay to build better visibility, be more vocal, and take risk and start creating better impact in the world, right? That's probably what I would have told me myself, right? Yeah.